Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage at Bannister Hyundai. Would you believe it? Just literally 2 minutes ago it was sun shining, and now it's cloudy and it's just starting to rain. Apparently we're about to get a whole bunch of thunder showers, so got to run through the outside of this vehicle real quick so that I can get inside and go over everything on the inside. Now, what is this? Well, this is the redesigned 2025 Ioniq 5. This is the preferred trim. So in Canada we have the preferred trim and we have the ultimate trim. And then in the preferred trim, there's a range of different options. This one happens to be a preferred all-wheel drive. However, if you're looking at a lower trim Ioniq, whether it's the short range or long range, because there's two ranges now, there's a 63 kilowatt hour battery and this one the 84 kilowatt hour battery. But regardless of which one you're looking for, this video is going to be very relevant because the 84 and the 63 kilowatt hour battery Ioniq 5, the features are pretty much identical. So the only thing that changes when you go from the standard range to the long range is the size of the battery and the size of the electric motor. The only thing that changes when you add in the all-wheel drive option is an additional electric motor and an H-track badge on the back. So if you're looking at standard range, long range, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, doesn't matter. They're all gonna be exactly the same as far as features go, aside from those little things. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go over the whole car. I'll show you what's different about the 2025 model, aside from the obvious, you know, the bigger battery and better range. And then we'll go on the inside and go over some stuff there as well. Now, with that longer range option, you now get, with the all-wheel drive version, 463 kilometers of expected range. That, of course, is still with the same powertrain, so 320 horsepower and 0 to 60 miles an hour, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 5 seconds. So, fun car to drive. With the rear-wheel drive model, the standard range one will go about 373 kilometers on average, has about 168 horsepower, and the all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive is going to be about 504 kilometers of range on average at 225 horsepower. So a few different options you can look at, and of course these do compete very, very well with vehicles such as the Tesla Model Y, Ford Mach-E, Volkswagen ID4, Chevy Equinox, that sort of thing. So let's go over the whole car, starting with the front. Now, one of the things I've always loved about the Ioniq 5 is the fact that the hood actually wraps right around over the fender. So the hood itself is actually part of the fender. And when we open that up, we'll be able to see, of course, what's underneath that. But they did a really nice job with the design there. On the front of the Preferred now, you do get forward parking sensors. So not just reverse parking sensors, but front sensors as well. And of course, this slightly redesigned front end still has some of these pixels in here, as you can see. Still has active shutters, but they're a lot more hidden now. So these are the actual shutters that open up when you turn the vehicle on. It needs a little extra cooling. A lot of the forward sensing radar stuff is kind of packaged within the bumper. I'm not even sure where the forward facing radar is on these. It might be up here, it might be down here. I'm not 100% sure, but there is a forward sensing or forward radar sensing device for the adaptive cruise control, autonomous braking, that sort of thing. Headlights on these are reflective LEDs, so that's a little different. I'm pretty sure the last generation had projector LEDs on the front, but you still have these really cool LED daytime running lights that look fantastic. And up in the window, you can see we've got the forward-facing camera right there. That is for your pedestrian detection as well as autonomous emergency braking system. All right, I've gone ahead and turned on the lights so you can see what the light profile looks like. You see those cool LED daytime running lights. Now, they don't actually strobe like that in real life, guys. That's just a weird trick of the camera and the LED lights, the refresh rate and such. You can see the turn signal down there. That is still an incandescent bulb, so easy to replace if need be. And you can also see the side marker, which is actually built into the headlight housing, which is kind of cool. All right, let's pop the hood real quick. Now, to pop the front hood, it's just right here. And then it's a single-handed movement because this hood does have the hood struts to hold it up, just like that. All right, so right here you can see they've done away with the dual coolant system. It is just now one single coolant system, coolant loop. That, of course, is for the electric motor as well as the battery. Now, the electric motor is actually oil-cooled. However, the coolant goes through a heat exchanger, and that allows the coolant to cool down the oil, which then cools down the motor. The reason they use oil to cool down the motor is it actually apparently does better. So I guess maybe just the fact that it sticks to things that, you know, coolant bounces off of, I don't know. Windshield washer fluid there. Of course, there is a front trunk. It's not gigantic, but it's there. Now, with the rear-wheel drive model, you will still get the same size front trunk, but that's only because in order to get a deeper trunk in North America, you actually have to have the ability to open the trunk from the inside. So basically, if a 3-year-old can fit into it, it needs to have a safety release mechanism. Well, considering there is 2 things that would have to open up, Hyundai just didn't want to spend the money to put that in there. However, a little trick, if you want to get the deeper trunk, front trunk, you can actually get them from other countries that have them and then put them in here. They're actually really easy to swap out. As you can see, you have 4 bolts in the front here, a couple bolts in the back, and the whole thing comes out pretty easily. So a little bit of a trick there. Anyway, behind this is the cabin air filter, and then underneath here is the 12-volt battery. And then of course you got your fuse box. Emergency cutoff is in there. It's just a little thing you pull up and that cuts off the electricity from the high voltage battery. All right, let's go around to the side here first, and you can see we have all new rims. These are still aluminum alloy rims, of course, wrapped in Michelin tires, Michelin Primacy all-season tires. They're a 235/55 19-inch. Okay, going further down, you can see we got the pixel lights on the mirror still. We have the blind spot monitoring in the mirror as well. We've got the pop-out handles. Of course, as you approach the vehicle, those will pop out on their own. You don't have to push them first in order to open them, so that's kind of nice. And then wrapping around to the back, you can see the first major improvement here is the rear window wipers. That's kind of nice. So one of the biggest bones of contention for many, many people, personally I didn't care, but a lot of people really didn't like the fact that the old one didn't have a rear wiper. So the new ones do. All right, so the rear fascia is a little bit different, and of course you have the 4 parking sensors on the back there as well. Let's open up the tailgate. Of course, there is a rear facing camera right there. It does have 1 camera, it's just a backup camera. Back here, you can see we've got the 60/40 split rear bench, and one of the nicest things about the Ioniq 5 is these bench seats can actually recline quite a bit, which I'll show you when we jump in there. On the left side here, we got 12-volt power outlet, and then on the right side, we have the emergency release mechanism for the charge handle. And then underneath the floor, we can see we got some storage space. There's a bunch of stuff in there now. Right now, they got the charging cord and the tire mobility kit and whatnot. This one doesn't have the subwoofer, so there's actually quite a bit of room underneath there. Let's have a look at the charging port. Now, we are in Canada, so these vehicles come from South Korea. There is no NACS port on these yet. However, used now at Tesla charging stations, especially in America. I'm not sure about Canada, but we're getting there, with an adapter, and Hyundai will provide the adapter for anyone who owns one of these, so that's going to be handy. If they don't provide an adapter, check the description and the link below if you want to get one from A to Z. There's a link in the description below, rather, with a discount code EDSGarage. You can save a little bit of money getting your adapter from A to Z. Now, I'm pretty sure Hyundai is going to be providing the adapter for free to any people who have purchased a Ioniq or Kona or whatever within the last few years, but the breakdown and the information on that is still kind of up in the air. So in any event, that's where your charging port is, and of course, being CCS, this vehicle can charge from 10 to 80% in as little as about 20 minutes, even though it's an 84 kilowatt hour battery, because max charge rate is about 255 kilowatts, which somewhere around there, and it's able to maintain that speed for a very long time. So one of the fastest charging EVs on the market still charges as fast as the previous generation, pretty much. Basically what we're looking at here is your 0 to 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75, and then 75 to 100%. Those will actually flash as it's charging. So right now it's somewhere between 75 to 100 because all the lights are turned on. Your level 1 and 2 is just a J1772 outlet, and then of course you pull this one out, which they have also improved. This is a lot easier to pull out now, and this is kind of sunken in a little bit, so that's kind of nice. Button right there will of course close it, and you can open and close that door using voice commands. You can just say open the charging door and it'll open up. Pretty cool. As far as the tailgate goes, one thing I didn't mention was that the tailgate is actually pretty high, so even at 6'2", I'm not banging my head, which is kind of nice, but I can't really stand underneath it, as you can see, because it doesn't really stick out that far, but that's okay. It doesn't really, you know, not every hatchback or SUV is going to have that option. All right, let's jump in the back seat and check that one out. All right, so one thing that's nice about the Ioniq 5 is just its immense cabin space. So thanks to the way that the motor and inverters are set up in the front of the vehicle, which is vertically, there's more cabin space. There's a lot more space between the back of the back seat and the firewall. Basically, it's a very long vehicle. The wheelbase in this vehicle is longer than the Hyundai Palisade, just to give you an idea of just how big this car is. And you can see, even though I've got this seat set up quite far back actually, there's still just a ton of space in front of my knees. There's also space underneath the seat for my feet. Now when it comes to interior comfort level in the back seat, one thing that they have changed is these handles are now solid plastic in the back. In the front they are actually padded. But the handle is still long. It goes from the front all the way to the back of the rear door. So very easy to grab, regardless how long your arms are. A pocket down here for a bottle and whatever. You've got a vent in the B pillar, which is kind of nice. You have solid seat backs here. They've both got little nets that you can put stuff. Got a couple of USB-C ports. You'll notice that they are lit up. And there's a little spot for a phone if you want to charge a phone or something like that. And check it out, center cup holder armrest, which is nice and soft. Now, these seats, check this out, can recline, as I mentioned. So I'm gonna go to the highest point first, so that's kind of very straight. Nobody's gonna sit like this. But the nice thing about having a 90-degree angle seat back is that if you're using the storage area to store something larger, or if you're keeping dogs back there or something like that, this creates a nice vertical barrier. But if you have anybody sitting back here, they can recline. Check this out. Yeah, so really good recline here, as you can see, and it's quite comfortable. These seats are very nice, and the seat base is very long and very high off the ground, so you're not going to have problems with people with their knees up into their chin. Also, these seats can move, so you can actually slide the seats forward and backwards, which is even better for anything that you have in the back. So if you need a little bit of extra space in the back, you move these seats forward, and I still got room for my knees. So just a really well put together vehicle, and it's no wonder this won World Car of the Year and World EV of the Year when it came out in 2022. All right, let's check out the front seats. All right, first off, front passenger seat. You'll notice it's not power, but it does have height adjustment, so you can raise and lower that front seat. Front doors, the same thing. Very long handles here. Great cup holder, or sorry, bottle holder and door pocket there. It's actually a reasonable size. And check this out. The glove box in these is, like the old ones, enormous, and there's a nice little spot here to keep your insurance papers. But look at how far back that goes. It's actually quite roomy. All right, getting into the driver's door, you'll notice we do actually have a power seat on this side, and it's got quite a bit of manipulation. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so height and tilt, 7, 8 for the backrest, 9, 10-way adjustable power seat. This is the lower back support, so really comfortable seats. A lot of people don't know this, but Hyundai is actually one of the few companies that manufactures its own seats. So not only do they manufacture their own steel, which is kind of cool because they're literally the only company in the world to manufacture their own steel, but they also make their own seats. They're a very vertically integrated company. So great warranty, great seats, great steel usage, lots of advanced, structural adhesive usage as well to make the vehicles a little bit more torsionally resistant, safer in accidents, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, as far as features and technology, as you already probably know, Hyundai really does lead the industry in features for dollar, for value for dollar, in my opinion. All right, let's see what we've got in the slightly refreshed, redesigned Ioniq 5. So first off, you're going to notice the console is quite different. No more is this section it was kind of wasted space, the old one. It still has the sort of flip up center console. Storage area is still the same. This is all different though, and you'll notice we now actually have hard buttons for the heated seats as well as the heated steering wheel. 2 levels. This will turn on your backup camera, and then this is your parking sensors where you can enable and disable them. This is just a pad for a cell phone. It's not a wireless charger. You'd get the wireless charger in the higher trim level. And underneath the front here, this guy is still the same. They haven't really changed anything there, but it's USB-C now, so that's different. And there's also a button to switch this from screen connectivity to just charging. And you still have the 12-volt power outlet there as well. But You can use that to charge, that's great, but you don't need to plug a phone in for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto anymore because it actually now has the new CCNC system. I'm not going to go over this whole system. I've done that in another video, so I'll just put the link for that in the description below. So if you want to know everything there is to know about the CCNC system, then please check that video out. Now what I will do, however, is show you the backup camera. So as you can see, beautiful backup camera screen, very, very clear image. You can see straight down over the bumper or just behind you. Nice, smooth, good, great refresh rate on the dynamic steering lines. And you can also fill the entire screen with camera as well. Now this vehicle, being the lower trim, just has the backup camera. That's it. If you're looking for the full top-down 360 system, you got to go to the Ultimate trim. However, it does have front and rear parking sensors, so if I get a little bit closer to a car in front of me, there you can go. You can see it shows you right here how close you're getting. Basically, that'll turn red as you're getting closer. So if I do that real quick here, real close to this car in front of me. So now it's yellow. There we go. So now it's turned red. You can see I'm really close to that car. So I was getting a little bit concerned there. I'm going to go ahead and back up. So one thing to note is that driving dynamics haven't really changed. So the 24 and the 25 Ioniq, for instance, I mean, yeah, they look a little bit different on the interior. We've got the wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. It's got a bigger battery, but I mean, as far as how it rides and drives, that hasn't changed. Everything there is still pretty much exactly the same. So the benefits are in newer advancements in the technology, especially with that infotainment system. If you can get a great deal on a 2024, you might want to take that up because, yeah, you know, this one has the rear wiper, which is a nice improvement, and it has the wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, there's some very cosmetic differences, and that's about it. But anyway, let's talk about all of the buttons in this car. So we're going to start on the left side here. So obviously you got your window and window and lock controls, mirror controls, whatnot. This, of course, will lock out the rear doors as well as the rear windows. Right over here on the dash, you can see we've got our dimmer switch, traction stability control button. This will open up the charging door, and then we have our auto hold function button right there as well. That'll stop the vehicle from moving when you take your foot off the brake at a stoplight or stop sign, assuming you're not already using iPedal. We have a electronic e-brake. That is 100% automatic. So when you shut the car off, e-brake turns on. When you turn the car on, put it in drive, e-brake turns off. It has a tilt and telescopic steering wheel, so you can pull the steering wheel out and raise and lower the wheel. Right above that, of course, is your turn signal stock, which of course includes your headlight controls. It has automatic headlights, automatic high beams, one-touch turn signal, which you can change from 3, 5 to 7 flashes. And then on the right side here, you got your window wiper controls, and of course it's just up to turn them on. And as you turn them on, you'll notice it shows you in the screen exactly what setting you're on. No real changes in the steering wheel. It looks slightly different, but the lights are only on the top trim level. So in this one, it's basically the same as the last generation. On the left side here, all of these controls are for your drive. All of these controls on the right-hand side are for the infotainment system. So let's go over these real quick. So you got your cruise control. This will turn it on and set the initial speed. You got increase or decrease your speed, pause and resume your speed. This is for the adaptive cruise control, how close it follows the car in front of you. These two right here control this little center screen. So you'll notice right now we're on our current trip computer. That's because we started the car, and that's what's happened since we started it. However, if I press that top button, it'll bounce over to the middle of the three screens. You can see the three little lines on the bottom there. That's the compass, which will turn into your turn-by-turn directions when you're navigating. And then it'll go to this screen here, which is sort of your overall overview of what's going on around the car. But let's go back to the current trip, because if I roll a little scroll wheel down one, you can see we now have our trip computer since the last recharge. Then we have a trip computer since the last time the trip computer was reset. If I go down one further, we have our range guide. So this is going to show us a sort of minimum range, maximum range, and kind of what the expected range will be. So that's kind of cool. Then we have our tire pressure monitor there. And then it just bounces up to the current trip. Now, if you're wondering why the expected range is 544 kilometers, that's because this vehicle only has 19 clicks on it. It hasn't really been driven enough for it to kind of get a good idea of how much range there is actually going to be. Now, another nice thing about this screen is it is customizable. So currently it's on a digital background. In the video that I link in the description below, I do show how to customize this, but basically you can put this into analog mode and whatnot as well. You've got a speedometer right here. It tells you the speed limit. Sorry, not a speedometer. You have a sign right here that shows you the speed limit of the road that you're on. So that's kind of nice. It's basically going to be able to read street signs using the forward-facing camera. So you'll actually see like school zones and whatnot there as well. Now the other button in here is the lane departure and lane keep assist button. So that is going to have dual functions. Essentially, if I press and release this, it puts it into lane centering. I'm just going to zoom in on that button there, or that the little steering wheel. If I press that button and release that button, it just turns out on and off. If I hold the button though, you'll notice the other icon disappears. That's for lane keep assistance. So lane keep assistance is on or off by default, just whatever you have it set to. When it's on, over 64 kilometers an hour, if you're driving down the road, if it sees you drifting, it'll kind of put you back onto the road. The other one will just blatantly keep you in the center as much as it can at any speed, and that's the little steering wheel though. You'll know that those are active when they turn green. All right, behind the steering wheel, you can see we've got these paddles here. That's for the regenerative braking levels. So you can see right here, it says LV3. I'm gonna zoom in on that guy there. If I pull this right paddle, it reduces it down to LV20 or 210, and then if I pull the left paddle, it'll increase back up. And if I go all the way up, it puts it into I pedal. That means when I take my foot off the accelerator, the car will come to a complete stop. In level 3, it'll slow down quite a bit, but it won't. So I pedal is going to basically be your one pedal driving. But if I shut the car off, open the door, turn it back on, have a look, it's back in level 3. Unfortunately, iPedal does not stay on. Oh, check that out, brake disc cleaning, excellent. I'm gonna show you what that is. I don't know if you saw that message there. But yeah, so iPedal doesn't stay on when you shut the car off, turn it back on. It's a bit of a pet peeve. They do it for safety reasons, at least that's their reasoning anyway. So if you do want to use it, you do need to pull that left paddle after starting the car. Not a huge deal, but yeah, it's a bit of a pet peeve. Anyway, brake disc cleaning. So this has got a really cool function where if you don't use the actual friction brakes for a while, which honestly you wouldn't because you have regenerative braking, it's going to disable regenerative braking so that it can use the friction brakes and kind of keep them clean. So it's a pretty good option, something Hyundai came up with a few years ago when the Ioniq 5 debuted. So really, really cool feature that I don't know any other EVs that do that. I could be wrong, but pretty sure that's just a Hyundai thing. In any event, let's go over some of the things that you're seeing on the screen here, aside from the center. So obviously you got your speedometer over here. This is basically just going to show you, how much energy you're using, how much charge it's getting back, that sort of thing. Your estimated range till empty, which also has the min-max thing, which is kind of nice. Your current battery percentage, which level you're in for regen, your odometer, which gear you're in, the temperature outside, whether or not the car is ready to go, and of course your e-brake on the left. And the nice thing about these screens is that they are non-polarized screens, which means you can wear polarized sunglasses without having any problems. Okay, aside from that, as far as the center console goes, I did mention the buttons that were there. Obviously, you got a couple cup holders here, a little slot for like a cell phone or whatever. Not sure you'd want to put a cell phone between two cups, but you could. Down below, I did forget to point out that there is also 2 USB ports down there and just a whole lot of storage area. And I will say this, the one thing that bugs me about this layout is that this kind of covers a bit of this section here, and in order to get stuff down, it's a little bit awkward unless you lift this up out of the way. And when you do lift it out of the way, it's kind of still protruding a bit. So not sure I fully like this center console layout, but it is definitely better than the old one, and the fact that they've added some hard buttons is nice. Now let's have a look at the climate control. Hasn't really changed for 25, but well actually it has, and I'll show you how. For one, there's no button right here that switches to the seat warmer settings. So of course, because there's hard buttons for that now, they got rid of that. So you notice it is dual zone automatic climate control with 3 levels of automatic, which is nice. Quick shut off right there, but not sure why you'd ever want to do that. You do have automatic recirculate, so when you use the windshield washer fluid, it's now going to recirculate so you don't have to smell the washer fluid. And I believe that it does that for when you're driving through tunnels as well, which we'll be able to see in the settings here. Under vehicle, climate, recirculate. Yes, so if you drive through a tunnel, it'll recirculate the air as well, so you don't have to smell the tunnel air. So that's kind of nice. Now, being an EV, I always recommend to try to leave this on auto as much as possible. Ignore when the AC comes on because it's going to do that in random, well, seemingly random circumstances. Basically, anytime it's trying to dehumidify the air in the car, or it's using defrost, or when you have it on recirculate, the AC system will come on. Just ignore it. Even though it's, it might be cold outside, it can still, heat up air-conditioned air, and it's just better for the cabin humidity. So that's kind of nice. Above that, of course, you have your vents all on the side there. Now, I'm going to show you just really the EV portion of this screen. The rest is going to be basically the same as the video that I'm linking in the description. So we'll go to EV here, and I'll show you a couple things that you can do from here. So obviously you have your expected range there. You can look at a range map as well. So now in the blue circle, let me zoom out a little bit there. I zoomed out way too far. But it's going to show kind of an overall zoom out just enough here to get the whole thing. Oh, it doesn't really let me do that. That's annoying. Well, if I move the screen around, you can see there's that blue circle. So that's the expected range of the vehicle as the crow flies. You'll also notice a little mini map comes up on the right side sometimes. That's also a bunch of other stuff. Again, I'll go over all of that in my other video. But let's go back to that EV screen. And a couple things to note. We have our power consumption based on each aspect of the vehicle, so how much energy each section is using. That's always cool to see. We can see EV range history, charge efficiency history. If I go to this little icon here, it shows me our charging scheduler, so we can actually set the vehicle to charge at specific times and also turn on the AC at the climate control at specific times. Sorry, I was reading the word AC here. You can also change the AC current level here. This would also be where you can stop the vehicle from charging all the way to 100% if you want to do so. You also have your V2L settings here, so vehicle to load. Obviously, this vehicle is capable of providing 120 volt power outlet on the charge port with the appropriate V2L adapter, but you don't want to have it completely go dead while you're using that. So they've kind of set up this thing where you can change the limit of how long it lets you do that for. So that's cool. If I go to the little setting icon, I can activate battery preconditioning from here. So if you're going to a charge station, it's freezing cold out, and you want to activate battery preconditioning to warm up the battery so it charges faster, you can do that from here. But just note that if you navigate to a charging station using the built-in navigation system, it'll recognize that and turn on the battery preconditioning system anyway. Here's also where you can go to utility mode. So you can, if you turn on utility mode, basically you can leave the car off and still use all of the features in the vehicle, the entertainment system, the heated seats, the climate control and everything while the car is off. The only thing you can't do is lock the doors without doing it kind of a weird way. So basically to do that, if you're wanting to lock a dog into the car, what you do is you roll down the driver's window, you get out, you close the door, you reach in with your key fob inside the car, holding in your hand. You hit the lock button, that'll lock the doors, okay? Key's still in the car, but the window's open. And then you roll up the window because it's got automatic up. So you basically roll it up and then quickly take your hand back out of the car with the key fob. That's how you can lock the doors without the key fob in the car while the car is in utility mode. It's kind of a bonkers way of doing it. It's not a dog mode. That's why this is more of a camping mode. They don't really expect the people to not be in the car when you're using utility mode, but you can then use your BlueLink connectivity to then unlock the doors again, which is kind of nice, or you can use the physical key to unlock the driver's side door. Now, I mentioned BlueLink for a moment. There's also two buttons up here, SOS and Call for Roadside Assistance. That's part of the BlueLink system. BlueLink is free in Canada for 3 years, possibly longer. And it allows you to obviously call roadside assistance, SOS. It also allows you to activate some of the vehicle's features from your cell phone, like a remote start, unlock the doors, lock the doors, find it on a map, that sort of thing. You can remote start it with your heated seats on, your heated steering wheel. That's all new for 25 as well. Couldn't do that in the older ones. Well, the steering wheel, yes, not the seats though, for some reason. And you can also expect that if, God forbid, if you get into an accident, it will actually call emergency services to your location all on its own. So that's all part of BlueLink. Great system to have. All right, the other two things in here are smart regen. Some people love it, some people hate it. Personally, hate it. And then you've got the charging voice starting alert. So basically when you plug the car in, it's going to say charging started, and you can change the volume of that. That's from outside the car. It's a nice sort of thing to just let you know that, yeah, it successfully started charging as you're kind of walking away from the car. Little menu here, if you tap that, it gives you the option to go to the online manual. So if you were to scan this, it would take you to the electric vehicle portion of the online manual, which is hilarious because, I mean, what other portion of the manual would not be about an electric vehicle if this is just, yeah, you get the idea. Anyway, yeah, so check out the other video for all the information about this screen. It's a pretty user-friendly, pretty snappy screen. It's very, very smooth, easy to read. Layout is simple. You can move things around that you don't want to use. You can kind of keep everything that you want on the main page, etc. It's a nice system. So check out that video to learn more about it. Okay, other things up here, of course, is a manual mirror as well as your map lights. Those are just little touch-sensitive thingies. Lights on in the interior when the doors are open, lights on in the interior when the doors aren't open. And then, of course, you have your sun visors, both of which slide out, both have mirrors, both have lights. And all four corners have grab handles, which is nice. And that is pretty much everything about this car. I don't think I'm missing anything. If I did, please don't forget to comment below if you enjoyed this video or if it helped you out in any way. I really ask that you subscribe. That'd be awesome. It takes 2 seconds, and yeah, doesn't bother you anyway. So maybe do that. That'd be awesome. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit like. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, have a great day.